Jenna Ellis. Remember Jenna Ellis? She was one of Trump's lawyers. She was part of what they call the elite strike force. It was her and Rudy Giuliani and Sidney Powell, the Kraken lady. Release the Kraken. Yeah, it didn't work out so well. But anyhow, it was this absurd group, and along with Giuliani and Powell, she spread all these lies about the 2020 election, saying, it was stolen from Trump and there was irregularities and quack, quack, quack. She had started out, by the way, working for James Dobson, the guy who ran the hate group Focus on the Family, which is an anti-gay hate group. Then she moved to cable news in 2018. Where she pretended to be a constitutional law expert, although she had never taught or litigated constitutional law ever in her entire career, although she was a lawyer. And then she got brought into the Trump campaign, and she kind of lost it and went nuts. And just down the QAnon rabbit hole. And then she got busted in a couple of different places for the lies that she was telling. And, apparently now in retrospect, we realize, or she's admitting that she knew that these were lies, which I think is a pretty significant insight into how the Trump world works, that people are willing to lie for him. I mean, we saw this with the Dominion lawsuit at Fox News. It came out that Sean Hannity in the background was saying, oh my God, Trump is a sore loser. And then he'd go on television and say, the election got stolen from him. And Laura Ingraham was doing the same thing. Several of the Fox hosts were doing this. While in the background, they were communicating with each other in text messages and private conversations and emails, including with Rupert Murdoch and people, or his people. Everybody knew over at Fox News that Trump had lost the election fair and square. But they lied to their viewers for 2 years before they got busted by the voting machine company about, a whole bunch of things. They ended up paying over $700 million in fines. Well, you go after a corporation with, monetary damages. You go after an individual with criminal law, and they're going after Jenna Ellis now for this. There was, first off, an ethics complaint was brought against her in Colorado, which is where she's licensed to practice law, by the state's United Democracy Center, alleging that she had knowingly spread falsehoods about the election in 2020, assisted in Trump's efforts to persuade Trump to throw out the electoral count, provided misleading legal advice based on false claims. This was with regard to the fake electors scheme, amplified false theories of voter fraud and the operation of state law. She was censured for this, and she lost her law license for 3 years. But now it looks like it's getting even more serious. She has now been indicted in Arizona as well, and the indictment says that Ellis encouraged members of the Arizona legislature to reverse the election outcome and urged Vice President Mike Pence to accept Arizona's fake electors slate. Earlier this year, a grand jury in Arizona, now we're talking criminal indictment here, indicted 18 defendants, including her, for trying to overturn the Arizona election in 2020. And so now she has agreed to fully cooperate. And this could be one of the things that takes down, the narrow focus appears to be on Giuliani, taking down Giuliani, who is now bankrupt. I mean, his whole thing with Shay Moss and Ruby Freeman, the two Arizona election workers that he slandered, and they had a successful lawsuit against him for, I believe, over $100 million. And he's trying to weasel out of it and whatnot, but a court has ordered him to pay at least something. And so he may soon be destitute. But she has flipped. He has not. He has not flipped. He's still loyal to Trump. And clearly the reason why is because Giuliani is hoping or expecting that Trump will be our next president and he will then pardon him. I don't think it's going to work out that way. And Jenna Ellis apparently doesn't think it's going to work out that way either. For some time there, she was holding off, like, you know, hey, I'll just get a pardon from Trump the same way Mike Flynn did, the same way that Steve Bannon did. You know, I'll just wait for the pardon. Well, he's not going to have the power to do that. So now the the AG office has signed a cooperation agreement in which she is promising to, quote, testify completely and truthfully at any time and in any place requested by the Arizona AG's office, including at any state or federal grand jury proceeding, forfeiture proceeding, bond hearing, pretrial hearing, civil and criminal trial, retrial, or post-trial hearing. And she must provide information and testimony that is, quote, truthful, honest, candid, and complete with no knowing material false statements or omissions. She's waiving her Fifth Amendment right against self-incrimination. She's agreed to fully cooperate. I mean, this is a BFD. And they wouldn't be cutting a deal like this if she didn't have inside information that could directly incriminate either Rudy Giuliani or Donald Trump or others at the highest levels. Ken Chesbrough is another one that appears to be terrified by this. He's also been indicted down there, and he has not flipped. And possibly Mark Meadows, Donald Trump's chief of staff. I think Mark Meadows is probably one of the real big targets of a lot of these efforts. And, you know, an awful lot of it is kind of on hold. You know, there's all these appeals and trying to get to the Supreme Court. And plus, you know, the friendly judges, you know, like Aileen Cannon down in Florida, who basically are saying, you know, we're just going to put everything on hold until after the election just in case Trump gets elected so you can shut it all down. But I think Meadows, Eastman, Giuliani, and Trump have to be having a very bad day today, now that Jenna Ellis has said, you know, enough already. J. Coe, by the way, K-O-U, I believe it's spelled. He's got a great Substack. It's called The Status Quo. J-K-U-O, yeah, over on Substack. You might want to check that out. Meanwhile, Senate Republicans are blocking Biden's judges. This is interesting. The Senate has just one big job in the next few months, and that is to get as many of Joe Biden's judges approved as possible. And it's not going well, because Dick Durbin, who is the chair of the Senate Judiciary Committee, every judicial appointment that Biden sends down has to first get out of the Judiciary Committee before, you know, it gets to the floor of the Senate for a vote. And there's this thing called the blue slip. Now, this goes back to the Civil War era, where a senator can, you know, essentially refuse to turn in a blue slip, or you know, I believe it's withholding the blue slip, if my memory serves me correctly. It used to be actually a physical piece of paper. Now they just say, you know, I object, basically. But if Biden, for example, nominates somebody from well, we have the actual example, North Carolina. If he, and he's done this, he's nominated a couple of judges who are currently judges in North Carolina for federal positions. And Thom Tillis, who's the Republican MAGA senator from North Carolina, has blocked 2 of these district court judge appointees. In Mississippi, Republican Senator Cindy Hyde-Smith is holding up Biden's nominations of Scott Colum, which was announced in October of 2022, and even Lisa Murkowski, who is not even a Republican anymore. She's an independent. She is resisting approving district judges in Alaska. Now, when Obama was president, we were respecting, or let me rephrase that, because this doesn't quite so much have to do with who's in the White House as who's running the Senate. When the Democrats controlled the Senate, they were respecting blue slips. When Republicans controlled the Senate, when Mitch McConnell was the Senate Majority Leader, he ignored the blue slips. There were all kinds of just wackadoodle, you know, Aileen Cannon types, although there wasn't a Democratic senator to object in Florida, but that type of judge, these crazed right-wing judges, were being appointed by Donald Trump and the Federalist Society that was vetting them for him. And Democratic senators were saying, I object. Here's my blue slip objection. And Mitch McConnell just said, screw you. But now the guy that this has to go through, is saying, yeah, no big deal. And so the Senate Judiciary Committee and its chairman, Dick Durbin, of Illinois, are now honoring Republican blue slips again. Why do Democrats roll over when Republicans play hardball? I mean, the Republicans didn't roll over. They ignored the blue slips, but for some reason Dick Durbin thinks it's important to respect the blue slips. Like, maybe when the Republicans get back in power, if they seize control of the Senate next year, and there's a very good chance they will, by the way, that somehow they're going to respect blue slips again. Forget it. They didn't do it last time. They're not going to do it again. Somebody needs to wake Dick Durbin up. Please. It's 17 minutes past the hour. I'll be right back with you.